Hello and welcome to Meldon Law and Friends. Today is Tuesday, April 6th, 2021, and this is a new day for our program. It's our 24th episode of this podcast, Jeffrey, and we are not only live, we are taking questions on Facebook Live. So this is our new day going forward, Tuesdays, 1 p.m., and actually, Jeffrey, we have another huge change coming up in about 2 months, I was told we can talk about. In June, this program is going to be moving to Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, where we will be doing our Tuesday podcast every 1 p.m.
Actually, Chris, we may even move it up to May if the city cooperates and gives us our permits early. So we're very excited about doing our podcast live today. It's our 24th episode, and what it means to us is being able to bring great members of our community out to everybody. You can see us, you can listen to us. There's certainly Facebook Live, which we're on now, but also YouTube and 39 other audio channels.
It's really pretty incredible. I can't even list them all, but many people have been following our podcast since November on everything ranging from Apple Podcast to Spotify, Google Podcast, iHeartRadio, Overcast, I'm not sure what that is, but evidently a lot of people listen to it, Podbean, and like Jeffrey said, one of 39 other platforms. We have a great program today. We've got an extraordinarily well-known mediator by the name of Mr. Carl Schwait, who we're going to be talking to in just a couple of moments. We had him on our radio show a couple of months ago. Anything you want to know about mediation, how it works, and why it is so effective, this is the guy to tell us about it. Before we do that, though, Jeffrey, we've got some contests still that are alive and happening right now. We already have given away the tickets for tonight's baseball game against Stetson, but tomorrow night's game, which is Wednesday, the 7th, against Florida A&M, we still have 2 tickets and a $50 gift certificate for dinner at Miapa. Did I say that right?
Miapa Latin Cafe.
All right, well, I'm getting closer. And we still have those tickets available. All you need to do is to go to our website, go to www.meldonlaw.com, go to the homepage, banner right at the top. Could not be easier.
Well, not only that, this week we have softball. The Lady Gator softball team rocks. They are just incredible. I've been watching them in person at the games, and I even watch them on TV. I've gotten into them so much. And we've got Lady Gators back in town this week, Wednesday. Mm-hmm. This is unusual. It's 2 games back to back. It's not a doubleheader. A doubleheader is where all the fans stay in the stadium and then they just roll into the next game. But we got a game at 5 o'clock on Wednesday, April 7th. We're giving away a 2-ticket package. And then at 8 p.m. On Wednesday, the Lady Gators are playing. But the big game is coming up this Saturday, April 10th. Team Canada.
Canada, you bet.
They are defrosting. They're coming down to Gainesville to play the Lady Gators to get away from the snow. So this is the national team of Canada playing Saturday at 1:30, and we've got 4 tickets and a $100 gift certificate at Miapa Latin Cafe. All you have to do is go to meldonlaw.com, the homepage, the top of the homepage, you will see a red bar, and it just says enter the contest here, and you will be in. And I'll tell you, our winners have been so excited to be able to go to these games, whether it's baseball or softball. They're incredible.
And we'll talk more about this throughout the program. We also have another huge game coming up. On the 13th of April, the Gator baseball team plays FSU. And we've got 6 tickets total, a group of 4 and a group of 2. Again, it's so easy. Just go to the Meldon Law homepage, go to the banner at the top, apply, register for the tickets, and best of luck to you. There'll be a lot of people applying for that one.
Well, it's a memorable game. I believe it's the first time FSU has ever played in our new stadium.
It is.
It's going to be, it's always huge when FSU comes here. It's always sold out. And Meldon Law just so happens to have the hookup so we can get you tickets. We're giving away a set of 4 plus a set of 2 for the FSU game. So go to meldonlaw.com. At the top of the homepage, you'll see enter the contest, and we really want to thank everybody the response has been terrific.
It has been. And again, I want to remind our viewers that you can ask us questions live on the air during this segment. Just go to Facebook Live on the Meldon Law Facebook page, click the link where you see the video going, and type in a question. We'll do our best to answer it. But let's get right to our guest.
Yes.
Mr. Carl Schwait.
Hello.
Mr. Carl Schwait is a mediator. He's so many things. He has been recognized by the Florida Bar. He was a leader in the Florida Bar for many, many years, public servant, an active litigator for many, many years himself. I could go on and on about your accomplishments because they are many. But thank you so much for joining the program, Carl.
I'm happy to be here. I hope I'm as exciting as all the giveaways that you have. Yeah.
Well, so for our guests listening, I want to tell you, Carl and I have known each other for over 30 years. When did you move to Gainesville?
1990.
Yeah, you were a South Florida guy for a while, right?
I was 14 years.
I know. So
more than enough.
So how'd you decide to get out of South Florida so early?
I wanted to get out of South Florida. I just didn't want to live there. I didn't want to raise my kids there. I was raised in a very small town, and I saw that there was a job opening in some town called Gainesville, Florida. I'd never been here in my life. And my wife and I moved our kids here, and here I am.
Wow. So you graduated from the University of Miami Law School in 1976, right?
That's correct.
And then what kind of law did you practice in South Florida?
I did both plaintiff's work and defense work for 14 years. I spent 2 terms as a city commissioner in the city of South Miami. So I got elected on 2 different occasions. And I just was reaching the age of 40 and decided I didn't want to live that lifestyle anymore. I wanted the lifestyle that I remember as a kid, a place like this, and so I wanted my kids to be raised here, and we moved to Gainesville, and it was everything that I thought it would be.
Great. Now, did you start with Del Graham right away?
My whole life has been in Gainesville, has been as an attorney at Del Graham until July 2nd, 2015.
So, you know, when I moved here in 1970, well, I started practicing in 1971, and Sam Dell
Yes.
became a friend
Sure.
of mine, and we were like the odd couple because you know S.T.
Yes.
Dell, right?
Right.
And Sam was like very, very, very conservative, and I was this long hair hippie, and somehow the two of us hit it off because he was really kind of a visionary, wasn't he?
Well, he was a visionary. People don't realize, but when you see streets, drives, terraces, it's S.T. Dell. S.T. Dell. Streets, terraces, and drives in Gainesville are all, go the same direction because of him. He's the person that they
No kidding.
named that after.
Oh.
And of course, his wife was Mrs. Shands. She was the daughter of Dr. Shands that they
Bill
named
Shands.
Shands after. And so he was a very connected and very dedicated person, very active in the community. And he, of course, started the law firm of Del Graham.
Yeah, and so if streets and drives, like terraces, right, they run north and south, right? So April runs east and west. Avenues, AP, places, roads, and lanes all run east
Yeah.
and west. So maybe there was an April in there somewhere.
Yeah, I don't want to get into his private life or anything, you know what I mean? But
So anyhow, I want to get to the focus of what we're doing
Okay.
because you worked your whole career doing litigation, which means you were involved in lawsuits, right?
Yes.
And other things, but pre-lawsuits and lawsuits, and you were also very, very involved with the Florida Bar. I know you were our Board of Governors representative.
Right, 12 years.
For 12 years, and I know you did a great job
I
because,
appreciate
and I thought we were going to have to send you to the nut house when you agreed to take the job of rewriting all of the advertising
Right.
laws.
Yes.
Tell us about that experience.
So that was you.
Yeah.
Yes, so one day the bar president called and said, I'm not going to appoint you to the committee that you want to be the chair, which I was the head of discipline. And I said, well, how come? She said, well, I have a special treat for you. And they asked me to oversee the rewriting of all the advertising rules in the state of Florida for lawyers. The Supreme Court had given us 1 year to do it. So I chaired that. I argued on 3 different occasions. I went in front of the Florida Supreme Court and argued in front of them and led sort of the changes to the advertising rules, which I hope people realize that the advertising rules are for protection of the public. They are not for the support of lawyers. And so the bottom line is that we want to make sure that the lawyers do what's correct so that the public understands what is out there. And there's a lot more liberality on it, meaning if you restrict advertising very often, you don't know the kind of lawyers you're getting. And now we have testimonials. We have people like you who are able to put people and say, I used Jeffrey Meldon's law firm. Those things we didn't have before. And we've done, I believe, very well. There are people who might not like advertising, but we have freedom of speech and freedom of commerce here.
So
and that's why we did that.
What do you think are some of the best examples of lawyer advertising and some of the worst examples of lawyer advertising?
So you want to talk about mediation? I don't want to say anything against any potential clients here, but the bottom line is that people want to restrict, but we don't want to do that. I think lawyers need to know, people out there need to know that everything that people advertise has to be supported. So that if you say you won 100 cases, then if someone challenges you, you have to prove it to the Florida bar that you've won 100 cases.
And the bar has to approve these advertisements. We lawyers know that, but the public may not be aware of that. That when Jeffrey runs, whether it's a bus advertisement or the old days, the Yellow Pages, whatever it may be, there is an approval process.
Yes, the testimonials are very important. And by the way, just as to the advertising on buses, I actually, in 1992, wrote that for the city of Gainesville. I did the research and I said that it was constitutional because before that there was not permission to advertise on buses, and we realized that there was no, the city can say they don't want it, but there is no true restriction if the advertising complies with the Florida bar.
Well, let's see where we're going to go now with mediation.
All right. Well, we're going to do something really quick. We have a question. We have a question on Facebook Live. If a person is injured at work and the employer only offers a minimal amount of coverage through their own insurance, what rights does the employee have to search out their own medical consultation?
Well, that's sort of a workers' comp question, but so I'm not really at this point able to give anyone advice. But I would say that injuries at work are absolutely overseen by the workers' comp statute.
Correct.
And so the employer is supposed to buy or have workers' comp, and unfortunately, sometimes for the worker, that's where they have to start. They can go to their own doctor if they want, I would assume.
Yeah. Well, here's a situation that often happens. Somebody who is employed is in their company truck, and someone else makes a bonehead move and injures them. So that person is covered by workers' comp, but they're also covered by their personal injury protection insurance and oftentimes by their own health insurance. And we will oftentimes suggest that our clients go do everything that workers' comp requires, but also have an independent evaluation by other doctors, and it can be paid for under personal injury protection. And the benefit of that is when you're making a claim against the third party, meaning the person who is at fault, they may have lots of insurance that has nothing to do with workers' comp, and you want to make sure that you have bona fide documentation of their injuries, because workers' comp doctors look at things a little differently than other doctors, particularly people that are used to treating people in serious accidents.
So we've got to cut to a break. That went pretty fast. We are going to talk about Carl's excellent work as a mediator. We've already got a question from somebody in the audience wanting to know, when should someone go to mediation? We'll talk about that after the break. You are watching Meldon Law and Friends, a weekly podcast brought to you by Meldon Law. We will be right back.
When you're a member of the Gator Nation, you know what it means to never back down. Meldon Law has been a proud supporter of the Gator Nation since 1971. Two forces that won't back down. As the old saying goes, if you can't beat 'em, join 'em. The Gator Nation will be the first to tell you that in all kinds of weather, we all stick together, which is why Meldon Law is honored to be the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. We hope you never find yourself the victim of a serious accident, but if you do, our team is here for you. Gators won't back down from a fight, and neither do we.
Hello and welcome back to Meldon Law and Friends. Today is Tuesday, April 6th, 2021. We are live on Facebook and we are taking questions. Jeffrey Meldon to my right, Carl Schwait to my left. My name is Chris Qualman. Want to remind everybody that Meldon Law is a statewide law firm with its primary office in Gainesville, and we also have offices in South Florida covering the entire Tri-County South Florida area from Miami-Dade through Broward all the way up to Palm Beach County, and we also now in our 43rd year have an office in Marion County in Ocala, a brand new office we've been talking about. If you haven't checked it out, 1326 South Pine. I got that right, I think.
You got it. It's really, it's coming along great. We've finished the inside of the office and we're sprucing up the outside with some really spectacular landscape.
It is, and the sign, I love it. The video that runs 24/7 at night, it's really pretty amazing. So check it out, drive by, stop by, say hello. We'd love to meet you. We want to get right back into our great guest, Mr. Carl Schwait, a mediator. And Carl, we had a question just before the break from a Mr. Ganzak. He wants to know, when should someone go to mediation? Why or why not?
Well, one is that everyone, before you get to trial, has to go to mediation in the state of Florida. Since the mid-'80s, that's been one of the rules. Florida has been the leader of mediation in the country. We actually started some of the processes. So when you say, when should someone go, you can even go before you file a lawsuit. Let's say you have a lawyer and your lawyer says, why should we spend the money? Why, if you don't file a lawsuit, you might be able to have attorney's fees lessened. Why don't we talk to, let's say, an insurance company and see if they'll go to mediation? And that's called a pre-suit mediation. And thirdly, if you're, let's say, in some sort of contract dispute, or I have mediated a case right here in Gainesville where two owners of a business, a very well-known business, just couldn't decide how to proceed. They needed a third party who knew nothing about them. They hired me, and we went ahead and we mediated. And when you do a mediation like that, and we call it a mediation, remember it's totally confidential. No one will know anything about it. No one has to know anything about it. It's about the parties. So when should you go to mediation? I always like lawyers who go to mediation early. And that's because they save their clients money. If you go early, people aren't as stuck in what they want to do. They're more flexible with the ability to give and take. So I always believe the earlier the mediation, the better the mediation.
Well, not only that, the way attorney fee structures are in personal injury cases, our fees are usually a third pre-suit, and then after a lawsuit, it's 40%. The fact is, lawyers like myself would much rather settle the case pre-suit and have the client put more money in their pocket and avoid 2 years of anxiety.
Absolutely. And that's one of the reasons that we want people to mediate. The question is, do you want to mediate, or do you want 6 people with driver's licenses living, let's say, in Alachua County making your decision? Mediation is self-determination. You and the opposition, the insurance company, or someone in a divorce, you make the ultimate decision. I don't make a mediation decision. I'm a mediator as a facilitator. I just lead the discussion. So that's why mediation is very important, because the parties make the decision as opposed to a judge or a jury.
Set up for our listeners a little bit about the structure and how the room is and breakout and what normally happens.
Well, before we had COVID, of course, we did our mediations in a conference room, and we all met in the main conference room. And one side gave an opening discussion, one side gave the other side, and they talked to the decision makers, because you have to understand we have three groups there. We have the parties, and they're the decision maker. We have the lawyers, who are not decision makers, they're part of the team, and then we have the mediator. I make no decisions. I'm not a judge. I'm merely the facilitator who leads the discussion. And so we do the opening discussion, and trial will be called opening statement, because the lawyers will be talking to 6 people who don't want to be there, don't care about the case, but they got a summons, one day, and they have to show up, and all they get is really free parking and free lunch while they're missing work. They're having to rearrange their lives. But in reality, in mediation, we start with the discussion, and everyone talks openly, because remember, it's confidential, to the other side, and then we go into breakout rooms. And a breakout room is you and your client in one room, you and your client in the other room, and then the mediator goes room to room. It's called the caucus process. And then I just try to get one person off Mars, one person off Venus, everyone onto Earth, so we have a really good discussion.
Could you say a few words about the different types of cases? You've alluded to it, but maybe not everyone realizes it's more than just injury cases.
Sure. I'm what's called a civil mediator, and I'm certified by the Florida Supreme Court. And I'll do, let's say, an employment law where the employer is having a problem with you're having a problem with your employer. I do a lot of cases where people say they have a broken pipe or a problem with the insurance company over an hurricane damage, uninsured motorists, personal injury, medical malpractice. But then there's a whole nother world of people who just do divorce work. And those mediations are different, because those are where we're trying to work out, you get the kids and I get the dog, you get the red truck and I get the something else. But that's not what personal injuries are. Personal injury is a pie. The insurance company wants to give as little money as possible. The claimant wants to get as much money as possible. And then I'm the person who goes room to room negotiating.
So what are some of the strategies you found most effective as a mediator to get the parties together?
Well, one, I want everyone to know, and I've been very honest with them, that I try to get the claimant, of course, as much money as I can, but at the same time, the insurance company would like to, if it's an insurance company or corporation, as little money. And so I'm the person in the middle who's the bridge. Why is that? Because for the person who has a personal injury, it's personal. They were injured, they have medical bills, they have pain and suffering in the past and the future. But for the person representing the corporation, the insurance company, that's just another file on their desk. You see, I call everyone by their first name, but it's very possible that who's ever handling the file doesn't even know the first name. So I'm the person who tries to mesh, the person who's injured with the corporation who has the money. And so then I'm the person who kind of tries to mix it together. Listen, I could think that, with all due respect, one of your clients has the worst case ever, you know what I mean?
Not ours.
It's none of my business. I don't have a judgment. I'm not allowed to have a judgment. I'm just there to see how much money will the claimant take and how much money would the defendant give.
Well, I think that's a really good perspective, because with mediation, a lot of times the parties come in and you say one's on Mars, one's on Venus, and what we as attorneys like about the mediation process is that we may know that a client's case is worth less than what they think it is, right? But it's better coming from you.
That's right.
Rather than me, right?
I wanted to make that point too, or have you make the point that you certainly draw on your experience as having been a litigator, and I think it's particularly informative that you've worked on both sides of the table. You worked for insurance companies and you've been a plaintiff's attorney, so you've really seen both points of view.
And in reality, even if I do have a judgment, I always couch it in terms of, this is what the guy in the other room thinks, because what people don't realize is that when I'm in your room, I'm speaking for the insurance company or for the corporation. But when I'm in the corporation's room, I'm speaking for you and your client. And with my 44 years of experience and perspective, but the most important thing is that I'm the person who's neutral. I'm on everybody's team. I want everyone to win. Why? because it's better for people to make a decision and get settlement and get your money in 30 days or get your divorce decree finished than to wait a year or two. And with COVID, as you know, we have people who now will not go to trial to 2023. We're 1 million cases behind right now in the state of Florida.
Yeah, that's incredible. So let me ask you this. Are you having more fun now as a mediator rather than keeping track of a quarter hour at a time?
I'm having so much more fun if you really want to know. And the reason is because, you know, after 3 or 4 hours of mediating, you don't want to settle. Don't settle. I pack up my bag. I send my bill.
You
I
get
go,
paid anyway.
I go to the tennis court and I get ready for the next one, as opposed to, as a lawyer, when I would mow the lawn, I would be worried about the Friday hearing or the Monday depo. Now, when I'm mowing lawn as a mediator, I just worry about how colorful the lawn is, you know, and how
I think
green
you're being-
Are you really doing that? You're mowing the lawn?
Yeah, of course. Don't you?
No, I haven't mowed the lawn in years.
No, we do it. Let me say one other thing. Right now, if I could,
Sure.
we're doing it by a platform called Zoom.
Sure.
And that means everyone is in their own house or their own office. We don't get together. And yesterday I mediated a case where the plaintiffs were lying in bed.
Nice.
No, maybe they were literally looking at the screen and they had their beds.
Are you finding, though, as much success in the sense of
Much
cases are settling just at the same
Yes.
rate, if not more, because of Zoom?
Much more because of maybe how I run a mediation, and also because of Zoom. It's much more relaxed. You don't have to be in an office building. People don't have to go and, you know, find parking, drive to Orlando, go to the court reporter's office. Everyone's at home. We put up with the barking dogs, the crying babies, but everyone is in their own environment, and that allows a thought process.
So there's less tension.
Tension, people are reading, people are relaxing, but they're focused.
So let me ask you this.
Yes.
After COVID's over, do you think we're going to still be doing Zoom mediations?
Right now, all my mediations through September are still all by Zoom. Not a person wants to go back to the old way because it works so well.
And you know, I'm reading all these articles that we are going to be having, everything is going to be Zoom.
Yes.
Court hearings, court calendar calls, certain things will be in person, but more and more.
Plus, very often, I get the right person. Now I get the corporate representative in Phoenix. I get the corporate
Good point.
lawyer in Seattle, rather than the hiring of some warm
They
body.
can't make the excuse,
That's-
we can't get a hold of him.
That's
Yeah.
correct. That right now, the real people are attending mediations.
Great.
Everyone's there, and I find that, you know, with the looking into a camera, I have good eye contact. They have good eye contact. I think it's the way to go, and we're really getting good settlements.
I think you're getting the hook,
Yes.
Carl.
No, I don't mean to. You've been terrific. Carl's
Right.
being very humble. We've mediated with him before. You do an outstanding job. Real
Appreciate it.
quick, phone number, email address. Somebody wants to get a hold of you to hire you for a mediation.
Yes, you just go online to the Upchurch Watson group. That's Upchurch Mediation Group. And you do everything online, and you will be able to schedule a mediation. I suggest, however, to get to a mediation that you hire a lawyer. I'm not going to tell you what lawyer to hire, but if you hire a lawyer, those people know exactly how to do it.
You are watching Meldon Law and Friends. We are live on Facebook today, Tuesday, April 6th. We're coming up with Jay Watkins. He is the band director, the marching band director for the University of Florida. He also is the director of symphonic bands and concert bands. It'll be a great segment. We'll be right back.
When you're a member of the Gator Nation, you know what it means to never back down. Meldon Law has been a proud supporter of the Gator Nation since 1971. Two forces that won't back down. As the old saying goes, if you can't beat 'em, join 'em.
Well, I was in a truck accident. Because of the accident, I've resulted in 3 back surgeries. We saw advertisements on TV, and guess who popped up more often than not? It was Jeffrey. The communication that he provided was so appreciative. He shows his compassion as a human. He assisted us in achieving one of our dreams, the acquisition of a home. And we're here today with smiles on our face with the assistance from Jeffrey.
And I was in an accident. Someone ran a red light and hit me, and I was hurt. You don't know where to turn. Luckily, I called Jeffrey. These big insurance companies, they don't want you to win. They truly don't. But Jeffrey and his firm and the people that work here, they just really fight for you. You call the law offices of Jeffrey Meldon, because you're going to need help, and they will help you.
The Meldon Law Firm from the beginning has been built on giving back to the community. I enjoy coming to work as much today as I did in 1971 when I opened my practice. I don't look at this as a job, I look at it as serving other people. While we're alive, what better feeling can you achieve than knowing that you've helped other people and thereby you enrich your own life?
Being a client at Meldon Law was special because I felt like I was really being listened to and I felt welcome by the entire staff. If I were in a situation where I needed legal advice and help, I would absolutely reach out to Jeffrey because his reputation alone speaks for itself. But on a personal level, I know that he would take care of me and help me solve those problems, and I would feel safe with him.
The Gator Nation will be the first to tell you that in all kinds of weather, we all stick together, which is why Meldon Law is honored to be the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. We hope you never find yourself the victim of a serious accident, but if you do, our team is here for you. Gators won't back down from a fight, and neither do we.
Hello and welcome back to Meldon Law and Friends, a weekly podcast brought to you by Meldon Law, a statewide law firm with its primary office in Gainesville, covering the whole state of Florida, South Florida up through Marion County, and of course Gainesville, where we've been since the early 1970s. First of all, I want to welcome Carrie Meldon to the show. Carrie, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, Chris. Always happy to be on the show, and I enjoyed the segment with Carl Schwait. I've known him for many years. I went to high school with his daughter, Shannon Schwait, who was a very talented dancer. And I remember Carl has always had, been very liberal with his knowledge of the legal system, and always has taken me aside and given me some tips as I was a young attorney back in the early 2000s. Up till today, I'll give him a call sometimes and ask him, I like to make sure I get the most information I can from the most qualified people, and Carl is one of those people.
I thought he was being very humble, Jeffrey, because he is an outstanding mediator. I have to say, anyone out there looking for a down-the-line, objective, hard-as-nails mediator, he'll look both sides in the eye and say, you're wrong, and here's why you need to settle.
I like, well, you want a mediator that'll push both sides towards the middle.
Exactly.
And so, and our next guest, Jay Watkins, I'm sure you have situations where you have to, you could use a mediator to help solve some of your issues, right?
Yes, sir. There are times that a mediator would be really helpful.
Well, for those who don't know Jay, Jay is the Associate Director of Bands, and within that title, you are the marching band director, as I understand it.
Yes, sir.
And you are also, you've done so many things. It would take an hour to read your bio. You are
Nobody wants to know that.
You're a professor at the University of Florida School of Music. You manage, symphonic bands, concert bands, so many different things. I have to say, I was a student here in the 70s and 80s. The difference between the program then and the program now, it has just grown astronomically.
Well, yes, and thanks. It's an honor to be here. So thank you all for having me here. And yes, the program is done great things, mainly because we just have great students, and you can do great things with great students, with great people.
How did you get involved with being a marching band director? And
that's a long story too. This is my second career. Okay. I was actually a research chemist for the Navy and for NASA.
Boy, that is a change.
And I got tired of being in a small room all the time, and I spent all my spare time out working with high school bands or drum corps. and just realized you can't serve two masters. So I went.
You
back
went with
to
your
school.
heart.
Yeah, went back to school, started over again, and ended up here by the grace of God. So yeah.
Now, but you were with other schools before doing,
Oh, yes, sir.
doing band. Now, so you don't just do the marching band; you do other things, right?
Oh yes, yes. And again, I think I've got the best job in the world. Don't tell everybody I said that, but you know, I really do. I get to do symphonic band. I teach classes in conducting and marching band techniques, and for the music education students, conduct the symphonic band, oversee all the athletic bands, and do the marching band.
What makes a great conductor?
A great conductor can internalize the music and understand what the composer's real intent was, and then be able to communicate that to the players to try to get that out of the players. So it's a lot about, one, knowing the music and knowing your players.
Want to remind everybody that if you have a question for Jay Watkins or for Jeffrey or Carrie, whatever it may be, we are live on Facebook today. This is a new day for us.
Okay.
Our normal day in the past had been Friday. This is our new day, Tuesday at 1 p.m. That will be our day going forward. If you have a question for Jay Watkins about the Gator Band, about all the work they do, there might be somebody out there with maybe a parent with a student who's interested in pursuing a career in music. This would be the guy to ask. So send us a question on Facebook Live. Go to the Meldon Law Facebook page and just type in a question. We'll do our best to answer it.
So I got a question for Jay.
All right.
Other than the Gators, who are the top 2 or 3 or 4 bands in the land?
We talking college marching bands?
College marching.
Sure, start with college.
I'll say Ohio State is good.
Yay!
Okay.
You know why? I'm an Ohio State alumni.
Well, I did not know that. I did not know that.
And I went for 4 years. I went to all the Ohio State football games, and Script, Ohio, to this day, always makes my heart
Yes.
just go.
All right, so
crazy.
here's the trivia question. Who wrote the song Hang On Sloopy? He gets a royalty every time Ohio State band plays that song. Famous rocker.
Okay.
Brian Wilson?
No. Rick Derringer.
Okay.
Rick Derringer, he was in a band called the McCoys, and they wrote Hang On Sloopy, and every time that Ohio State band plays it, he gets a royalty somewhere.
Well, good for him.
So we
That's
had
probably the
Ohio
only song
State.
he's getting a royalty for, I would guess.
Who-
Yeah.
Are there?
Ohio State. I was at the University of Texas with the
that's a good
Longhorn
one.
band before
Yeah.
I came here. So that's another great band. Texas A&M is another great band from that does the typical military marching style, where everything is 6 to 5 steps straight ahead, and then very entertaining, very big band too.
And Florida A&M has been one of the
was
most
gonna say-
entertaining bands I've ever
A&M is
They're
fantastic.
incredible.
There's so many great HBCU bands. It's hard to pick like any one of them. The Honda Battle of the Bands up in Atlanta every year, you get to see 10 to 12 great HBCU bands that come out and just
Oh,
really
really? So they have
entertain.
like a national championship
They
for
have
marching bands?
it's not really a national championship. They just invite some bands to come and play in the dome.
I
there.
saw
It's
that
great.
your band won back in 2013. Is it the Sudler
Sudler.
Trophy awarded by the John Philip Sousa Foundation? So
Right.
explain what that award is all about.
That award was started years ago by the foundation to recognize the most outstanding college marching band for basically years of achievement, musically, visually, community service, and things like that. And it's awarded every other year, and you can only win it once.
And
so
were
it's
where were
interesting.
you at that time? Were you here in Florida?
Here.
When
right.
did you start?
I got here in the fall of 2006.
Oh,
So
so
just
you were
in
here
time.
for the glory years.
Yeah, the Urban Meyer years.
Yeah.
Titletown days, right?
Yeah, I tell you again, I am so blessed because I was at Texas when we won the national championship and beat
Vince
USC
Young.
in the Rose Bowl with Vince
Uh-huh.
Young. Yes, that
Oh,
was
yeah.
fantastic. That last touchdown when he ran in the corner, I was standing in that corner.
Wow.
And then came here for the years with Urban and those 2 national championships. So
Wow.
it's been awesome.
Yeah.
So,
and-
Jay, I have a question for you. How do you recruit high school students to come play for
Great question.
the college band? Like, I always wondered if it's like football where there's like blue chip prospects across the state that you look for.
There are, we certainly look at the students that are in the all-state band each year. I'll tell you, the biggest challenge to getting in the band, and this is for everybody that's listening, the biggest challenge to get in the band at Florida is to actually get admitted to the University of Florida, because that's the hardest thing right now.
Sure.
And so we have kind of switched our model from trying to recruit the best high school kids to come to Florida to looking at, okay, we've got 6,000 great freshmen. How many of them played in their high school band? Let's recruit those students.
We have a question from
All
Michael
right.
Barr. The question is there any thought of a guest singer with the band for the national anthem at the football games?
Yes, and the reason why we can't do that is based on the sound system in the stadium, there's a delay of about 1.3 seconds.
Ooh.
So by the time you say something, it takes 1.3 seconds for it to come out of the speakers in the stadium. By that time, we've already moved on, so that you get this huge disconnect, and it just tears apart musically.
Okay.
We did it. We did it at one of the Florida Georgia games with a singer, but we used a different sound system up there, obviously, and made it work. But it's just really too spread apart inside of that
So
stadium.
that's unique, though, to the marching band, because we've had concerts in the stadium.
Right. Now, yeah, if you're playing with a band, we just had, who did we just have? The country?
Garth Brooks.
Garth Brooks, right. We
Yes.
just had Garth Brooks, and we were at that concert. But when everybody in the band is mic'd the same way, and it's all coming through the same sound system, you don't have that time delay. But when the band is playing live, and then the singer is mic'd, you get this big split. So it just doesn't work.
So maybe for the benefit of our viewers and listeners, and us as well, talk about the preparation that goes into putting together a performance for the football season. I had a son who played in a high school marching band, and I know how hard he worked in that, and I'm sure on a college level it must be massive, the hours, the preparation, and so forth.
It's a lot of time. It's a lot of time and work. And what we do that I think a lot of people don't realize is we're one of the few schools that still does a different show every home game. So, and those shows are picked by a student committee that comes up with ideas. We have the no bad idea days, and so we throw all the ideas on the board, and then we figure out which ones are going to work for for copyrights and things like that.
You have somebody that helps facilitate getting the permission.
The rights and so forth, yeah.
Oh yes.
So
we have
when
to
you
do all
do,
of that.
so when you do a song, a Beatles song, say, you have to go to ASCAP or BMI or whoever's handling their
right.
stuff and
Right.
get.
And the school, has an ASCAP and a BMI blanket license,
Right.
but we still, if you arrange anything, it has to be done, the right way with all
I
the rights
loved it when
given.
you guys played Don't Fear the Reaper by Blue Oyster
Yes.
Cult. I saw that, heard that, and I thought, wow, what a great classic rock
Yeah,
song.
it's a great song, and the cowbell players love it.
That's right.
But so that's what we do. We
Clunk,
put together the shows, get the music arranged. I write the drill that you see, and then we teach everything through online platforms now. We went completely paperless years ago. So I write everything. We push it out to their cell phones. They get everything they need on their cell phones.
Before COVID, you were doing this, it sounds like.
Oh, yes.
Wow.
So when you say write the drill, what does that mean?
That means basically designing the pictures that you see on the field, putting everybody in their spot, and then figuring out how they get from place to place and how many counts to do that. And then creating an animation of it, and then digitizing it and sending it out to them with like an XY coordinate sheet, so they know exactly where they're supposed to go stand.
Wow.
And then we do a Monday night music rehearsal, and then Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday we have 2-hour rehearsals on the practice field, and then it's go time.
Wow. We've got to cut to a break. This is a fascinating segment. We'll be back for another final segment with Jay, talking about the Gator Marching Band and maybe get into some war stories about some things that have happened on the road or at home and whatnot. Again, you are watching Meldon Law and Friends. Meldon Law is a statewide firm specializing in personal injury cases, everything from big truck crashes to motor vehicle collisions, to cases involving pedestrians, people on bicycles, even on motor scooters. We also have a criminal defense division handling cases that include DUI. Whatever your question may be, though, no matter what type of case it is, these guys have been doing this a long time. Give us a call anytime, toll free, 1-800-373-8000. This is episode 24. We are live on Facebook, so if you've got any questions for Jeffrey, Carrie, or Jay, type them up and we'll do our best to get to them. We'll be right back.
The Gator Nation will be the first to tell you that in all kinds of weather, we all stick together, which is why Meldon Law is honored to be the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. We hope you never find yourself the victim of a serious accident, but if you do, our team is here for you. Gators won't back down from a fight, and neither do we. When you're a member of the Gator Nation, you know what it means to never back down. Meldon Law has been a proud supporter of the Gator Nation since 1971. Two forces that won't back down. As the old saying goes, if you can't beat 'em, join 'em.
Hello and welcome back to Meldon Law and Friends. This is our fourth and final segment on Tuesday, April 6th, 2021. Our guest is Jay Watkins, Associate Director of the Gator Bands and actually the Director of the Gator Marching Band. And Jeffrey, we've got a lot of exciting things that are going on. We are, of course, the only official law firm sponsor of the Florida Gators, and to that end, we've got tickets. We're the only source, really, where you can get to for tickets for these games that are sold out. Tonight's game against Stetson, those tickets have already been given away. Tomorrow night's game against Florida A&M, we've got lots of softball games. People just need to go to our webpage and go to the homepage, look at the top.
Yeah, and go to meldonlaw.com, but there's some huge games. Lady Gator softball team coming in Saturday, playing the Canadian national team is huge. FSU coming in next Tuesday is a tremendous opportunity, and we're really excited that everybody's participating in it. It's really fun.
Carrie, we just had the Gator Pro Day a few days ago here at the University of Florida. Some of the Gators who had declared for the draft, like Kyle Pitts, Kadarius Toney, Marco Wilson, turns out they had a pretty amazing day.
Yes, so the Pro Day, for those audience out there that may not know what a Pro Day is, it's where the NFL eligible Florida Gator players can come back to the Florida Gator facility, football facility, and they do a litany of different testing to determine what their draft status may be in the draft that occurs, I believe, in April, right? Or is it May? The NFL draft, I think, either occurs in April or May. But regardless, what they do is they have the players do bench pressing and high jumping and broad jumping and shuttle runs and sprints, and they're trying to determine the athleticism of the UF players and how it relates to their status within the NFL. And apparently, this most recent Pro Day was a really, really good result for the UF players, and they scored high on the strength tests and on the speed tests. So,
Kyle Pitts in particular, Jeffrey, I think he ran the fastest for a tight end. And what are they talking about where he's going to be drafted?
He'll be the first non-quarterback drafted on April 29th. And Marco Wilson did great. Kadarius Toney, our wide receiver, did great. So a lot of Gators are going to really be right up there in the first and second round. Of course, we've got gymnastics, and they're moving on. They're going to be in the finals in Dallas next weekend, and that's exciting. And Gator volleyball gets a bye, but then they're going to be in the next round as far as the volleyball tournament. So things are happening really quickly around, Gator Nation.
It's really incredible, the quality of athletes. Kerry?
Oh, yeah.
Well,
tennis, too, is
Tennis is
one, and-
incredible. Yeah, this year they've actually, the men's tennis team is the best it's been since I can remember.
Yeah.
The women's tennis team has a great tradition here at the University of Florida, but the men's tennis team is really performing highly.
Yes.
Jay, I want to ask you a question a little bit about the song selections and all of the oversight that the Florida Band has, and specifically you as the director of the University of Florida Fighting Band. One of the things that you talked about was that you do a different show every single game. I remember, going to a few games and you have movie-based themes and really cool different, I guess you would call ensemble type, songs that you put together.
Right.
Just talk a little bit about, what you're looking at in terms of picking, a motto to have for a certain game. I mean, what are the thoughts that go into that?
Well, like I said a little while ago, I mentioned that we have a creative team of students that puts together things that they think the fans would like. And that's one of the big differences between, say, high school band and college band is that college band exists to entertain, support the team, and entertain the crowd. So we're looking at things that are relatable, things that the majority of the crowd is going to understand. We have to obviously be mindful of lyrics, because every now and then, and I have to rely on the college students to keep me up to speed, and my son, who's also a student here, to kind of make sure I'm not going down the wrong path that way.
We have a couple of questions, and
Sure.
both of them are great questions. One of them I was thinking about. So when you're at you're doing a football game, obviously the competition between the teams is very fierce. But what about the camaraderie or competition between the bands? Do you guys have are you friends or are you enemies or what?
Definitely.
How does that work?
We joke about this all the time, but like when we go to Florida State, those are some of my best friends are the band directors up there. I've known them since we were all in college. And so for us, it's a kind of a reunion. For everybody else, they're like, wait, how can they be together? How can they can't be nice to each other? But
so there's a working relationship.
Oh, there's a great working relationship.
Okay.
It's a small group. There's only really 127 Division I college marching band directors, so we all know each other really well.
But I remember though that LSU game a couple of years ago here in the swamp. I think it was the third quarter. You were starting to play "Won't Back Down," and all of a sudden the LSU band is trying to drown them out.
Right. There are some times when the competitive juices get flowing and people do not smart things.
I see.
So that does happen. And
for the most part, it's a fraternity, so to speak.
Oh, it is.
People
everybody respects all the work that everybody else does. The students get along great with each other because a lot of the students at our schools went to high school together. They just weren't fortunate enough to get into Florida, so they ended up at another school.
Another question is, what is the most needed position for the band each year when you're putting together the marching band? Is there something like, oh my gosh, we really need this?
For me personally, I can never have enough low brass because I think that's really that's what creates the depth of sound. So tubas, trombones, baritones, a big low brass sound to me is great. But we can never have enough brass players because again they tend to generally just produce a lot more sound.
Obviously, the last year was a unique year to say the least. You couldn't travel
the last 14
because
months have been very unique. Yes.
What about this coming year? Do you have any thoughts about what's going to happen travel-wise in 2021?
We haven't had any discussions with athletics. We're waiting right now to hear from the SEC Medical Committee because they'll determine whether or not the bands will travel. But I personally don't foresee us doing much travel this year. I think it's probably going to take another year before we get back to the level of travel that we were used to, pre-COVID. Because that's a lot of time for us. That's 56 people on a bus sitting shoulder to shoulder, 4 people in a hotel room. So that's a little too close, I think, for everybody's general comfort level right this minute. Now, as we move into the fall, I think maybe once everybody's vaccinated, I think things are going to loosen up. But I think for the start, we're not looking to travel right away. But I do think we're going to be back to some sense of normalcy by the middle of the season, I hope.
Do you have any input as to the audio profiles of the stadium, for example, where the band needs to be sitting in order to get the most sound dispersed throughout the stadium?
Do I have
how does
input?
that? Yeah, how does that work? I'm trying to figure out like is
If
it
I had input, we would be sitting right in the middle of the visitor section on the 50-yard line, playing as loud as we could behind the visitors bench.
all right, I
But
like
the
that.
SEC doesn't allow us to do that. The
so there you
SEC
go.
says you have to be outside of the 35s. So somewhere on that side, playing so that the visitors hear what we're doing would be great, and also so that the home crowd hears what we're playing.
Right, near the student section is
Yeah, I think the
obviously-
student section is key too, because that's one of the great things about the tradition of the band at Florida is the band really leads all of those cheers in the stadium. You know, whenever we crank something up, the fans usually follow along with
You know,
that.
one thing I always love is that one game a year when you have the homecoming, where you have all the older people
Oh,
come
yeah, the
back
alumni
and
band.
the alumni band, and they get out there and they march and they do everything
Right.
just as if they were 40 years earlier.
Yeah, and they live for that, and we love having them back with us. It's a great way to connect. Our Gator Band Alumni Association is awesome.
Let me ask you this, and I posed
Sure.
this question to some of the coaches we had. What would you say to a young person watching, or the parents of somebody who wants to get into music, they're thinking about choosing an instrument, or they have a passion for trombone, whatever? What would you say to a young person wanting to do what your students do and march in the band?
Pick an instrument and start playing.
Okay.
Doesn't matter which one, just pick an instrument and start playing. You know, their middle school band director will help figure out what's the best embouchure
Okay.
and instrument combination where they'll be able to get the best sound, but just start playing. Because one of the great things too about the band at Florida is we have students from over 100 different majors in the program. The majority of the band are engineering students, followed by business students, science majors. You know, music majors are one of the fewest percentages of people in the
No
marching
kidding.
band.
So,
Wow.
I was going to ask that. You don't have to be a music major
Oh, no.
to be in the marching
Oh,
band.
no. No, you don't have to be a music major to be in any ensemble at the University of Florida. Anybody who wants to play in any of the bands can audition and be part of the band program.
And how do they find out? Just go on the
to the
website for
website.
the music department?
Yeah, or the band website, ufbands.com, has all the information about how to audition, when we do auditions. It's open to anybody.
How many members are there of the UF band?
In the Gator Band, we have 365.
Wow.
So everybody gets one day of the year. So, you know.
My day today.
Yeah,
You
not
have-
your day.
That's a huge band though,
Yeah,
right?
yes.
I
it
mean,
is.
are there any bands that are larger?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Like-
Alabama's larger, Florida State's larger, Texas is larger. Ohio
Yeah.
State is bumping up to that number.
But I thought Ohio State had a real smaller
They have a
type.
Yeah,
type
there's a
of-
very small group that does pregame,
Okay.
but then there's a larger band.
So how many are in Script, Ohio?
I have no idea. I think I want to say it's 236. It's
Something
some
like
smaller
that.
number
Right,
like that.
right.
And a lot of the Big Ten schools do that. They have a small set number of people that'll do pregame, and then they'll let a larger group do halftime.
I saw Purdue. They played in the Citrus Bowl in Orlando a couple years ago, and they have that giant
Right.
Boilermaker drum. I remember that guy's hitting as they go down.
Right.
So the tradition in some of these bands is
Oh
just
yeah, and
incredible.
the tradition, there was a tradition that everybody tried to have the biggest drum.
Right,
You know,
right.
We have Big Boom, which was the biggest boom in Dixie, when Colonel Bachman brought it here from Chicago. Texas has Big Bertha. Everybody tries to have their own version of the
So
big drum, and then they
that's
get
the
into
name-
all this. Yeah.
That's the big drum that the alumni roll out?
Yes, it's called Big Boom.
Big Boom.
Right.
So where is
Oh.
that kept? Is it kept on campus or?
Yes.
Okay.
It stays on campus. There's
Cool.
there's a room where it stays.
We've only got about a minute and a half left. Are there any shows coming up? Anything you're doing online? Anything that the public can jump in on?
Well, I'll tell you, we are this weekend, this Sunday at 2:00. We're doing the concert bands. Wind Symphony and Symphonic Band are going to
Okay.
do an outdoor concert in the park at the band shell at Flavette Field. Everybody has to register, and we're doing everything under all the COVID protocols. But if you go to the UF Band's website, you can register and come to that concert. It's free. We're just trying to do something to get people back to some sense of normalcy. So the players have been practicing in a room 10 feet apart from each other with masks on and bell covers and the whole bit. So we're trying to do something for the community.
Okay, so this Sunday,
This Sunday,
at
2
the band
p.m.
shell, and at 2 p.m. you need to register. That sounds wonderful.
So yeah, we're trying to get things back to normal.
Well, Jay, I want to thank you so much. I
Definitely.
sit on the 50-yard line, 6 rows behind the Gator bench for football games, and I love when the Gator band gets rocking. I mean, you guys do such a good job,
Well,
and,
thanks.
and I feel like you're playing for me.
Just for you.
He loves when you play Hey Baby. Is that the name for
That's
Yeah,
right.
actually, our whole crew sings
along.
together
Yeah,
with
and that's
you.
what, that's the goal. Is to
and it
create
makes
that
it a great
entertainment for
time.
everybody.
All right, guys. I'm getting that little
All right.
nudge from our producer. Again, you've been watching Meldon Law and Friends, episode 24. Thank you to everybody who typed in questions. That's our new normal. Every Tuesday, spread the word, 1 p.m. going forward, live on Facebook Live. Go on the Meldon Law Facebook page. You can type in questions, or if you can't watch it then, you can catch it on a replay on our Facebook page or on YouTube. Anything you guys want to say in closing?
Yeah, we just want to thank everybody who listened and watched our inaugural edition of Meldon Law and Friends live on Tuesdays at 1 o'clock. So tell your friends about it, and we want to see you next week.
We'll be back next week. Thanks for watching and listening.